Hey everybody, this is Evan, and this is part two. I had to cut the other video short because I accidentally put some information on that I shouldn't have. So today is Sunday, June 21st, 6:21 p.m. Central Time, and I'm going through these sensitive documents because I'm just throwing them away. Like, here's an example of life, and I'm just going to toss it. Let's see, Miss Crump, she should be fired. Oh, this is actually a list. This is a list of lawyers and law firms that I called, and nobody would take my case. And I have two judges that placed in writing that I'm more than capable of representing myself in federal court and in my case. So it's dumb because I think I'm a human being and I should be treated like a human being, and it's my human right and it's my divine right to represent myself. And I think that everybody that gets upset that these judges are allowing my self representation in court, like, if that offends and if that bothers you, like, that's your problem, not mine. And I think that it's awful that judges have to place it in writing for some people to comprehend that I deserve to be treated like a human being. Big whoop. Anyways, these all have like pretty sensitive information, but I'm just gonna throw them away. So my pile at this point is like this. And let's see, what is this? I probably should not put everything like up before. This is just like an envelope from Department of Veteran Affairs. Throwing it away. Uh, this is like Baylor billing again. I have the lady gave me like duplicates. This is DOVA, their Office of Payment Operations, that they can't get right for whatever reason. So it's like DOVA. Throw it away. Travel office. I don't even care. They don't pay me anyway. I got this and it works really good. Like, I usually, I don't know, like, I feel like I have super sensitive skin, and I use the body, like, I use the body. Well, I did kind of use the body guide comb, but I used it without the body guide comb, and it actually was pretty good. Like, it didn't irritate me as bad as I thought I would. I thought, like, okay, I'm just gonna use this portion, it's gonna irritate my skin, but it actually didn't snag or anything. Anyways, this is a prescription. Okay, these are labs that have to be placed all over again. My pulmonary function, I have to do an entirely other one. Basic semen analysis. Because I'm in a wheelchair, I have to, well, I don't have to, but it's recommended to do a urine, post ejaculate urine analysis. So, anyways, pulmonary function, I did that. I have to do another one for Bailey because Michael DeBakey's awful. This is my voc rehab, physical medicine, which I'm doing all these things. For some reason, they're denying my request for travel, but that's awful because I never requested for travel. Okay, well, that's everything so far. VA approvals, the numbers, and these are my receipts. So I was keeping these receipts like from the Patriot store, and I was like, I found a receipt that my sister spent at Disney. She spent 193 with 78 cents, and I was like, I keep this receipt because I think about my sisters, and I'm like, whatever my sisters have spent, like, I want out of this settlement or this money that comes my way. Not that I'm holding my breath. I already almost died multiple times, anyways. But I really want my sisters. Like, I want to pay my sisters. I want to give them back something from whatever it is that I get. Like, even if it's my sister's $200 that she spent at Disney, like, at least she thought of me. She brought me a pen for like my suits, and then, like, $60 that I spent at the Patriot store when we went to Fort Bliss. Like, I keep these receipts because I think of them and I think about like I want to repay my sisters. So throwing those away because I'm tired of holding on to those. That was $60.38. I feel like Dumb and Dumber. And then we spent $30 cash at, well, like, I mean, the other stuff's sensitive because it has credit card information, but this one we actually paid, used cash from Fort Bliss. Okay, so everything else I can keep. All right, now I'm gonna cut this live stream so that I can throw these away. And then as soon as I organize another bunch of documents, I'll jump back on again. Peace. I just I'm making this video for myself. I've seen people on YouTube make worse videos, graphic videos with worse content and worse verbiage and words, and I'm doing this to show other people like what you can utilize that is free 99 to kind of like just help yourself in situations like obviously guard your sensitive information. My sensitive information, my privacy has been violated to no end. My life, really. So it's not that I don't care. Obviously, I do care for my own safety and for the safety of others. But also, I think that maybe I just have like more of a carefree, like, you know, than somebody who is like timid. And, I just highly recommend, like, before you toss like very important documents away. Like me, I've been told by the most important federal agencies to keep these things, and I have been going through this process since 2022. So I'm like, I really could care less about what you have told me now or in the past. Not that the law does not apply to me, it does, but I have to take care of me myself. And obviously, like, these people, they don't view me past 9 to 4:30, and even then, I've been in the VA system long enough to know that these people stop caring around 3:30, 4 o'clock. So they show up late to work, they get their lunch break, and then they start heading out and packing up for the day around 3:30. So outside of that, they could care less about me. And while I've been too much of a rule follower, I have, I have experienced a suffering that I don't wish upon anyone. I have tossed insurance paperwork in the fire. One, because it was healing, but two, because it was super cold. And I just wanted some warmth, and I just tossed them on the fire. So I don't recommend doing that, but I mean, if you're homeless and you need some candle and some fire, it was super healing for me, and it was an experience that I lived through and I survived, and now I'm making this video and I'm like, hey, what's the worst that can happen? I throw all this in the trash, and allegedly there's all these investigations that have been ongoing since my workplace injury. So I'm like, these people either stop jacking around and do the right thing. And, I am in a very unique position where I can't do these things because I learned to do these things to, I guess, to protect myself. And in a way, I did it because a lot of the things that I started to do were super triggering. Like, I was like, okay, well, I'm at the homeless shelter. Like, I was trying to snap out of this not meeting someone's productivity or measures or metrics for the day. And what can I do? Like, go back to school. And I tried getting in so many times, jumping back into getting online, going back to school, and then I was in this place of like, well, that's the problem. The problem is I'm too educated, and I don't want to say that there was resentment as or stubborn. I think that it was just like I think I saw that something was super wrong here. And not only that, but when I would jump into cybersecurity boot camp, or I started thinking like, well, what can I do to get back or get another job? And somehow, like, I would start these things and I was like, this is too triggering for me. And even when things later on, my health uh, deteriorated, like I was in the hospital and I did a neurofundamentals class one, and even measuring the electrical units of like your brain and transmitters, that was super triggering to me because I had already a comprehension, and what led to me my injuries and homelessness, like that comprehension of energy, electricity, engineering, and it was just like sensory overload for me. So then I think I was like, well, I applied for a voucher for class and I saw a course. It was forensic DNA analysis. And I was like, okay, why not? Like, I was kind of low key doing that at the shelter anyway. Like, I would clean rooms out and people would do things and there was stuff there. And I would always clean, clean, clean and use a UV light. And I was like, well, this would be interesting. And also, I basically figured out well, close, near, not actually on the day what happened to me, but when I started to heal and I was capable to walk, I went back to the site of my accident and I knew from the very beginning that what happened to me was intentional and without a doubt. But when I went back once at night and I went back once during the day. And at night, I just remember like the street light and how just silent and dark it was. And I remember just the air, just, it was so crisp. Like nothing ever really disturbed that place. And nothing ever had up until that point. And I know it never did. And I decided to go back again during the day. And I remember, I think I just had some, when I went at night, I remember feeling just this weird kind of like clear energy. Just it was just so clear what had happened to me was just so certain. And I went back during the day and I went towards the stop sign and I bent down at the puddle that clearly some fuel had leaked there, and I put my hand down on the concrete, really gravel. It was just so rugged, and I smelt my hand, and I knew that whoever did what they did to me, they really just floored it. And I was just so thankful in that moment for my intelligence and my identity. I was just so like, if I was not so in tune with, as I say all the time, if I was not so mechanically inclined, I don't know where I'd be. And I think just having the knowledge and the skills to just smell that fuel and know like what was done to me, it gave me this this insight into what I can do, not just for myself, but obviously I learned to do for myself, but what I can do for others that is not being done. I think that I've learned in this process that the person and the people that did what they did to me, they have no automotive knowledge. They have no mechanical knowledge. They're dumber than bags of rocks. And I see, even yesterday there was on the news that a grandmother died because Tesla was, they said it was in automated self-driving. And I mean, I know that it we would always joke and say it's called DOS, or it's called that autopilot shit. Like, that was a joke that we would always make. And there is a place in forensics and science and crimes and corruption where the utilization of vehicles, like in my situation, was utilized as a weapon. And had I not survived, it would be murder. And I survived, and I have been able to really figure things out. I think the hardest thing about figuring it out is facing the figuring things out. And I was just like, okay, well, I have learned that there is just this like, very thin, very thin margin in solving cases where people, it can literally be the paint color of a car that can solve a crime. It can be a hex color of a car. I mean, like, my driver and I, we saw a ermine white Stingray, and I think that it was just so healing, that experience. Like, even though this Stingray was on a tow and going who knows where, like, I looked it up and I was just like, wow, like how the culture was in that time frame, that those stingrays were like luxurious. What was your wealth and luxury? I know because Vince Lombardi bought every woman on the Green Bay Packers football team, every woman, every mom, he bought them fur coats. He said, without you women, we would not be able to win these games, these championships. Like, these men would not be prepared to win these games. And that was just like a signature for wealth, was fur. And the fact that the Stingray, one of the luxury colors for the Stingray was ermine white. I think that was so, like, I don't know, it was just so great to me because that white, that paint matched this fur to this animal. And I was just like, that was a, like, trademark luxury for them. Like, they were patenting luxury into the paint of these vehicles. That's how much detail was placed into these cars. And I've seen, like, for instance, with Mr. Gregory, like, Mr. Gregory, a lot of people have assumed that it was the red Mustang. And I also think, okay, well, it makes more sense how Mr. Gregory was talking about green, because make that green would make that Ford Mustang more valuable than the red. Red was like by factory, like, that was something that was like, who didn't want a red sports car? But the green, that color and the type of top, like, that's what would have brought that Mustang to a whole other level. And it's like, okay, like, I don't know, even like the cassette tapes, or like even looking at the electrical diagram of that Ford Mustang at the time, like, what could have been done if somebody were stuck in that trunk? Like, how hard would it have been if somebody was trying to get their way out of the trunk and for a cassette tape to be jammed? Like, somebody that really does know the wiring diagram of a Ford Mustang, like I did, I knew that like the back of my hand at one point. Now I probably really have to look at the electrical architecture of the box and the circuits. And but anyways, I think that I can really be a trendsetter in a place where, in forensics and genetics and DNA, there is not very much known other than, like, okay, like what they always do in movies and in court. They always go by the tread marks, but also well, nowadays a lot of tires are aftermarket, and like traction control is, I guess, like super common. So modern day, and ABS, but I'm like, I have an understanding that's like above and beyond and like not human. So I can easily help people. And they said with the Tesla situation that the Tesla flew into the house and a very, very healthy 78-year-old woman lost her life, sadly. But I mean, and that the news local 2 reached out to Tesla for response. I mean, I was joking. I was like, at this point, I might as well be talking to the TV and that be your response, because I am in this arbitration and even I can't get a response. And Department of Veteran Affairs is like telling Tesla HR, we want every single document that you have on Mr. Mendez like now, and they haven't given it to them. So if the Department of Veteran Affairs isn't getting a response from Tesla and Tesla hangs up on NHTSA, and I think that like even that weird thing with like incessant calling just got to me, because I'm like, bro, don't even try to come at me with anything. Like I had direct communication with Elon Musk himself, and I never once was that psycho weirdo in the workplace that emailed him, that called him. I mean, I could immediately call him from my Microsoft Outlook Teams if I wanted to, and I never did, because I'm like, that's, you're psycho nuts if you just like call the man and be like, which people did. One time, someone called him because they were like, "Can you wear headphones in the workplace or some crap like that?" They were like, "Can we wear AirPods?" I shouldn't even laugh. This is awful, but they were like, "Can we wear AirPods in the workplace or something like that?" And these were really like things, like people had problems, and I was maybe taught too right what to do. Don't approach him. There were times where, you know, he would get mad at technicians walking on the factory floor. There was one incident where somebody, I think they nudged a car up too much, and like it kind of like really maybe got too much in his proximity, and um now I know that it's wrong. Like now I know, like even when he would come do a walkthrough at the factory or whatever, people would be like, "Oh, Daddy's coming through." People would call him Daddy all the time, and now I know like that's wrong, and yeah, that's weird. I mean, I never did that, but I know that when you are in an environment like that, that's that toxic and that oppressed to the point where men are calling another grown man daddy. Like I know that that's super wrong, and now I have the courage and strength to talk about it. Did I have the courage and strength to talk about it then? No. Did I have the courage and strength to admit, like, hey, I'm being exploited in the workplace and I'm being labor trafficked? No. Did I have the comprehension to a degree? Like, this feels kind of wrong. Like, I'm just recruiting these people just to get a bonus, 7K, 10K, depending on what their job was. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I have a few resumes here in my hand. I'm putting people over and over again. Like I could put my father-in-law, my girlfriend's friend. I could put a guy that was standing outside of Gigafactory, just waiting for Gigafactory to open, handed me his resume, and just people were lined up outside the factory before the factory was open to the public. And when we walked out, it was like we were rock stars. And I everywhere I went, I just people wanted a job, and I just kept putting these people in for referrals or interviews or whatever it may be. And I was just thinking to myself, like, that if I get these people in, or even friends that were engineers or people that I met that were engineers and desperate for jobs, I was like, that's 10,000 a pop, at least 7, 10K a pop. And I was like, man, I'm getting paid $21 an hour. And I think maybe that's probably why I didn't care so much about the pay cut from New York here, because I was already like, I have so many leads as far as like people wanting jobs, that I was like, if I lock one in, and I think also like now it's sitting in that like however many times I was recruited and transferred, and like those people made money off of me. Those people at least made 7,000, if not more, off of me, and that's horrible. Like that's not cool. It is human trafficking. I don't care how you put it. I don't care if you're HR recruiting. I don't care if you're on LinkedIn. I don't care if you have LinkedIn Premium. And I like spent all day blocking weirdos from my LinkedIn, and I'm like, okay, first of all, I've reported LinkedIn for so much, like violating my privacy and reopening my account without my permission so many times, and they could care less. So I was like, okay, well, they reopened my account anyway, so I might as well do it myself. And I verified myself, and I'm just like, okay, all these people have LinkedIn, they're LinkedIn members, LinkedIn Premium, but they're not verified. Like, that's the dumbest thing. So you're paying and you're not even verified. That's dumb. Like, I would rather be real and be verified and be on LinkedIn like a normal person and really truly show that I earned my career because I got the receipts than be some phony that has a phony certificate from an accredited college. Like, grow the fuck up. Sorry, not sorry. Like, where's your experience that you did something? Like, where are the receipts? Because it's like, if you don't have the receipts, then it never happened. And I have the receipts. I did phenomenal things and I was called crazy. But I have survived and lived through that, and now I'm in a place where I can help people, and also I am helping people. Like, I'm helping Mr. Gregory Keithman in his case, and Mr. Gregory. So I don't know yet if Mr. Gregory is Mr. Gregory, but I know that I'm helping Mr. Gregory and the other Mr. Gregory. So I just take it like one day at a time, but today I'm like, today's just not the day. Like, I think it's Father's Day. I think that I lost, I may not be a father, but I think that in understanding that my celestial creator has healed me from that loss of like not feeling like I could ever one day be a good enough father or not make it to fatherhood in a time frame, and falling in love with a woman that lost her babies. And I, for so long, I think I just was avoiding that. Like, and I think that there was some good advice given to me to just put those feelings on the back burner. And I think that that advice, as difficult as it was to take, I did. And finally, I got to the point where, and this was like maybe 3 months ago, I got to the point where I realized like that is where I was going wrong. And that, as difficult as it was to put those feelings on the back burner, and that not wanting to understand why, like, the woman that I loved at the time lost so much, and thinking, like, okay, well, she lost her babies, like, she could have lost me too, and then she would have lost all of us. Like, and then just like, I think it is kind of somewhat, not to make it about me, but it is like that survivor's guilt of like, well, why did I survive everything that I shouldn't have survived? So I thought, after reading What to Expect When You're Expecting, I started to realize that's where I'm going wrong. Like, I think when you go through a loss like that, love or anything, I think that the best thing to do sometimes is not just to not talk about it or put it on the back burner, but to try again. And not to try to lose my life again or escape death, no, but to try love again, to try that love again, and to try and be present again. And I hope that I can work my way into trying again. Like, that guy is no longer here. And I know that that guy would have been prepared for fatherhood in a heartbeat. Like, that guy would have ran down every single road, and if he found like leftover car seat parts, he probably would have created his own car seat or whatever. Like, that guy was on fire, and now me, like, I walk around like a big baby. Like, now I'm in diapers, I walk around in a walker, It's like I'm in a bounty because they have to put me in a hoist to put me in the stretcher in the bed of the hospital. So now I'm like this big baby. But I just know like that God is guiding me, and I'm facing my adversity. Like one doctor asked me how many personalities I have, and I said one. And I'm like, well, that's kind of messed up because I'm super blended. And I think like I don't go up to people like, how many personalities do you have? And I know that I can be a big baby, especially like when I'm in the hospital. I did this allergy test, and I was like, as much as self control as I have, it doesn't matter. If somebody tells you not to do something, like don't itch, don't touch. You're just like, ugh. And I'm just like super easy on myself. Like, you don't know what it's like. Like, you don't know what it's like to one survive a near fatal accident. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I had to learn to speak again. I had to learn to talk again. I had to learn to eat again. I had to learn to process the world again. I was like processing without processing and not understanding that I was processing love. Like I was processing people taking care of me, and in a way that I was like really conflicted. Like I didn't feel safe, and I felt like, okay, like you're loving on me, you're healing me, you're bathing me, you're dressing me, and I know that you like I know you, but I don't know you. So it was rough, and I just know like moving forward, like this is the best thing that I can do. Medical care and treatment, and it's like it's good on paper, and most of the time it's template and cookie cutter, but I'm looking through these forms, and like a lot of these forms have not been revised since dinosaurs were alive. So like this guy should be fired. uh, this guy, Dwayne A. Jones, he should be fired. And these people use CAC, like they use government certified CAC prints. My privacy's already been violated, so well, thanks for watching. Peace out. I'll come back when I have more papers. Bye.